Julie here, and this is Sirius Taurus Moon. And while I'm soon gonna caretake for a video, Mercury Hour, and I ended the last video, got my voice back. I ended the last video, um, and it was 51 minutes, 51 seconds. And I said, this is interesting, I have to check this. So Moon is 23 degrees Sagittarius, left to 22nd degree. Ascendant 28 degrees Gemini. Mercury 17 degrees Libra. And Venus 11 degrees Virgo. The midheaven 12 degrees Pisces. Jupiter 22 degrees Cancer. As I was checking just for the number signification, then 5151 is actually a number of, staying focused on our manifestations. But then it was, what is 515 in Islam? And it said a symbol of, okay, let's caretake for a video here. Yeah. It was a symbol of the Arab revolt in the Ottoman Empire, which I absolutely have to read about. And that is just interesting. I really like the juxtapositions and unpredictability that is happening, because I was setting fierce boundaries to all the religions and their practices, and I actually got the good things from those religions and practices kind of being retrieved. Gigi Young has an episode about chaos magic and dark occult that I want to watch. So yeah, let's see if this moves. Yes, it does. So first came Christianity. First of all, first came the Deacon's Talisman. Okay, because I was really pissed at the personality code. Then came Archangel Gabriel, which is completely Christian, Judaic, and Islamic, because in Islamic is Jibril, and that was a really positive juxtaposition, which I talk about in this episode. Then I close with 5151, which is basically about, the verge of transformation, manifestation of what we do want, and so on. And now, when I think about a juxtaposition of the Arab revolt in the Ottoman Empire, I'm like, those are really important significations. I like the moon coming out of the 22nd degree. Again, approaching my midheaven, approaching the galactic center. By the way, the moon lunar nakshatra today was good for buying jewelry. And for me, I just had the positive urge to do that. And with urges, we really need to have discernment. However, sometimes that just really is a sense of knowing and acting on that knowing. Set a lot of boundaries today. Now, I recall a conversation I had with a medium a while ago, and I learned channeling also with her help, having to set boundaries to energies that are not really welcomed here. So, with the lower astrals, a lot of Nazi based, slavery based societies, cultures, and people that, as we tap, whether it's to a certain talisman or certain egregore, they seem to pop their head and, like, oh, are we invoked? No. Nope. And I am an avid believer that it's not about wanting less for ourselves, in as much as it is about enjoying all the goods in a way that's actually benefiting for us and humanity, and basically taking that place that the lower astral was taken. When we learned about essential oils, I remember we learned about turmeric oil, which I didn't order this month, but I hope to have it by next month. And turmeric oil is basically very nourishing for the ground. It's a sesquiterpene, which with four, it's like four molecules. I know it's yes, that's what I remember about it. But also, it's very nourishing for the soil. Helps people that find it difficult to take care of themselves to do that. And then we were told to put, because only in the course we're not supposed to do that usually. We're putting one drop on our tongue, and immediately I began to channel. So, still putting boundaries. And again, when we set boundaries, we begin to see what were the initial reasons we had to put these boundaries. Now, as annoying as it can be to set a boundary, um, doing so is basically kind of um, transmuting energy. So this is an active process. Boundary setting is an active process of transformation. 1111 as I speak, and this is a gate that really needs transmutation, because that gate and portal has been so fucking abused by the lower astral. What is light workers is basically when they think about a person that walks with a flashlight into property that had a lot of mold in it. So first of all, it has to put some sort of something to protect themselves, as it works with that giant flashlight to see how to remove the old mold. The $1 properties in Italy, for example. Everybody knows it's not $1 and you have a home, but basically, for those that don't, I have karmic rope with Italy, but for those that don't, buying a property there and transmuting the energy for those that have the wealth to do that. And as you begin to tackle such a project, it's a project of transmutation. So whether you're going to finish that project or not is basically a transmutation process of something that was moldy for quite some time. Setting a boundary is a lot like that. It's something that we're not even supposed to do, but hey, neither, like tortured infants is also not even supposed to happen. And the boundary setting is an act of transmutation. And sometimes only during the boundary setting, with the time it takes, we begin to uncover what was underneath the dumbfuckery. The people that are not used to have a boundary set to them. It's like, it's okay. You're just not going to do trauma bond here or invoke the lower astral here. And you're absolutely not going to insist on that here, because we are setting that boundary to that action. Naturally, I'm setting those boundaries as I speak, and you're not going to eye what I have. You're going to listen to my episode telling you how to get what I have without violating boundaries. You're not going to try to subjugate anyone here. So this is a lot of transmutation work. Because certain figures have been used to having privilege, having this, having that. It's not good for them. They're all addicted. And as we clear stuff in our body, for example, I bought mugwort essential oil today. And I really like to thank Austin. I'll just leave it at that. Felt this insistence, like that's the right thing to do. And I'm like, okay, let's try it. So, yeah, as I begin to really aggravate the excess yeasty growth while protecting my sexual boundaries in the astral. Now, remember when I done that in the physical, it was really funny. I was in the self-defense course, and I told the instructor, it's not good, because they were trying to have a simulation. It ended up with me almost slaughtering him and telling him that I'm going to rape him, or I'm going to fuck him. And then he was like trying to set the in-between boundary, and me feeling weird about being a sex offender all of a sudden. I never returned there. And then I noticed certain programming, like an algorithm, because I began to think algorithmically when I was in shock. He was alive, he was not raped, everything is okay. But I think he was quite shocked from me. And yeah. So another thing was when I was walking and there were people sexually harassing, and then I began to rage at them. And now when I was protecting myself in the astral, it almost like a spirit came, and it had this very punctual discussion, almost like a psychosis, but this punctual screaming, "You will not rape children here," and all of those, and it sounded almost like a spirit. Now, it could very well be somebody that is casting away rapey people, that, well, that my boundary setting was almost tapping into that spirit. And I'll just let it rage. But that scares. I remember when I was walking, actually during the daytime, there was a guy walking after me, and I stopped, and I slaughtered his soul with screams. I didn't touch him physically. He got so fucking scared that my murderous rage shook him, and he stopped. So when I start setting boundaries in the astral, it was very tender in the beginning, but not later. Very tender meaning, I said I was in favor of assisted death. No point to I what I have. You try to take from people what they have to traffic them. See, this is boundary setting life for those of you that are targeted individuals by trafficking scams. People trying to look. If you don't try to traffic people, yeah, we are going to upload that again. If you're trying to traffic people, you're basically not going to have the $50 to buy a bracelet that actually going to sustain somebody. If you try to take that from somebody, they might take your life because you try to traffic them. It's not about you trying to take, okay, a bracelet. It's about you trying to traffic somebody. See, that's how you set a boundary. And there's no point to try to do all these MK Often dark rituals. Ooh, they're trying to be rapey. Not gonna work. Now, for those of you here, look at this row, Mercury. For those of you who've been wondering, what do you do with those astral attacks? That's what you do with that. You grab something, grab a potato, grab whatnot, grab a needle. There begin to be implications for violating a boundary. Now, hey, that comes after lighting a lot of candles, a lot of black candles, with a lot of good intentions inscribed into them, and a lot of boundaries. I was for assisted death. I was for death with dignity. I didn't want nobody to suffer. But people that try to feed me to the lower astral are feeding themselves instead. And it's live and it's in the light. Because a lot of people try to take over, and energy is not for them. My body's not for anybody. Now we're Mercury hour. What happened? Mercury rules Ketu. Ascendant was with Rahu. Midheaven was with Rahu. Ascendant Cancer. Over nothing. Mercury hour. What happened? We just set that boundary and let it be. So a lot of people are probably wondering, how do you set boundaries to the damn fuckery? Well, that begins to have implications. You turn their energy against the attackers. Now, a lot of people, ladies in their moon days, people try to drive other people crazy. All those attempts to use MK often and target people and bring them into a situation where they depend on anything. Look how crazy they try to be. Try to make somebody loses their peace. They're like, oh my God, we're gonna go even more, even no. People don't like that those boundaries are being set. That people not only don't suffer in silence, they openly show how to set the boundaries in the astral. And by the way, it's also how we set boundaries to people. We can ignore them, not talk to them, then they try to attack us, they get stabbed. These energies are not really liking being set boundaries to. They're not really liking the people already. There's no point to try. There's no point to try to rape anybody. They try to summon the most energy they have, and none of this is going to work. Because anybody that tries to attack somebody in the light is going to either go into the light, cross over, or cross over. You see, don't be afraid to shout. Don't be afraid to scream. Screaming, no, screaming is not making anybody crazy. Anybody trying to attack somebody, That makes them crazy. People thinking that you shouldn't make noise. Well, they should make sure that everybody's safe and free in spirit and in matter. No more spiritual warfare. No more spiritual warfare. No more trying to mess with people's nervous system or speech. No more thinking that if you do it in the astral, nobody knows. That's visible. No more MK often. No more targeting individuals with dark occultism. No more Nazis. People are planning, scamming, scheming about a lot of people. So many men and women. 1/3 of the population is said to be targeting individuals where the other two are supposed to be watched and targeted. And then people get homeless, and then they try to kill the homeless, try to make people go missing. Where all the technologies people are invested in, if y'all invested in NVIDIA and Palantir, Starlink, any of these technologies, you know how you're gonna cash in on your investment? Those are not even gonna be used to locate you, because they're used to target individuals. And you're individual, regardless of the rank. There are a lot of perverts that don't like when they're being stabbed. A lot of people think that they can get off on girls, on little girls, and bother them in the astral. And then they get caught, and everybody knows in the entire neighborhood what they done. Don't be afraid to raise your voices when you set a boundary. Because now, as a result of that, any rapist in 100-meter, okay, and I don't know how many miles radius, is now shook with the rage. Those that try to masturbate on little girls are bothered. That psychological torture of people is coming to an end. How many people were hurt and targeted? You can ask by asking how many homeless people are in the United States. All of them are targeted individuals that went homeless as a result of basically where their money is supposed to be invested in, that eventually funds those projects. So we caretake for a video. You see, people don't like when people set a boundary. Now, this has been going on for at least 3 years. Just imagine how much compensation in assets and resources all the people that are targeted individuals are eligible to. And we got a video done.